The Trinka Podcast, academic writing done right. Hi, my name is Dr. KK, and I'm excited to welcome you to part 2 of the conversation that I had with Apurva Nagvekar, the principal data scientist of Crimson AI. So let's listen. So I was also curious. I was doing some research on your background, and I know that you're very passionate about Indian languages, especially if I'm not mistaken, Konkani. So can you explain to me I would say the scenario that is there in the context of Indian languages and let's say artificial intelligence and any such machine learning advances? Are we close to getting to the level at which English language can be processed? That's a question. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean definitely. There are some languages in India like Hindi. Then there are some South Indian languages like Telugu. They have like huge resources, and these resources are digitalized. So there, like we see really good progress in terms of digitalization or in terms of NLP. But like there are some languages like say for example Konkani, where I'm from. I'm from Goa, so like our mother tongue is Konkani. But we don't see so much of digitalization which has happened. And the problem lies there. So we consider these problems as resource scarce problem, where we don't have sufficient data to train our models. Now, when you don't have data, it becomes very difficult to train the models to get really good results. This is not just with respect to Konkani language, but there are different languages in India whose digital presence is not as much as as other languages like Hindi, Telugu, or English, and that's where the problem lies. Right. But there are different techniques through which researchers in India are working on, and they are trying to incorporate the models which are trained for Hindi or other languages and try to incorporate it in this resource scarce languages and then train the models around it.
So I'm not expecting a lot of research to be published in, let's say, native languages, at least in India, because I think the official language is primarily in English. But do you expect a future where, because of these language models, there'll be more of research published, let's say in Konkani or Marathi or something like that?
Yeah, definitely. What I think now is because of this large language models, the whatever results they give, they are really good and they look phenomenal. And one research and that really works for English language, right? I mean, ChatGPT may not give you really good results for other languages, right, apart from English. But so now researchers are moving their eye from English language to Indian languages or resource scarce languages. Right. Of course, this work was going on before as well, right, where people different academicians in India are primarily working for Indian languages, mm-hmm, and trying to make models better and available for researchers or industry experts to incorporate in their applications.
Right. So things should be, as in, I'm thinking somebody who cannot, let's say, write, maybe even speak fluently in English, who is currently has that sort of a threat, mm-hmm, as in a barrier to sort of communicate their research, yeah, findings, will find it easier now that we have more language models. And I think it's a huge thing, especially in India and maybe in Africa and maybe in South America, where English is not probably the first or the most common language, especially in research communications. So that was a very sort of, in my opinion, that gives me a lot of optimism. I'm a big fan of languages. That's one of the reasons why I'm in this field, despite being from the field of clinical surgery. And so it is fascinating. And you speak 4 languages fluently, is that right?
Yeah, I know Marathi, Konkani, Hindi, and English.
Right. So apart from English, among these 3 other languages, the Indian languages, which one do you think is an easier sort of a language at which a large language model can work?
Oh, okay. So I think it all depends upon the data, right, and its digital presence. According to me, consider any language, irrespective whether it's Indian language or other languages like European languages. They have their own nuances, and say for example, English is highly synthetic in nature, whereas Indian languages are more of morphologically rich. they come under in that domain. In English, like you can say, like you cannot say like as like in Hindi, where in Hindi you can say like Ram ne Ravan ko mara. You can also say Ravan ko Ram ne mara.
Yeah.
But like in English, you cannot say Ram killed. If you have sentence like Ram killed Ravan, then you cannot say Ravan killed Ram. The meaning changes.
Right.
So it's much more synthetic in nature, like the English language. But the same thing you can do it for Indian languages like Hindi, Marathi, or Konkani.
So is my understanding right? The more synthetic a language is, it is easier for a language model to be built. Is that right? Is that
not exactly, like it depends, like you cannot say that, like if you see English, then English is not morphologically rich language,
right?
Whereas Indian language is a sort of like morphologically rich language, and as you go down south, then their morphological richness increases, and primarily nowadays it all depends upon the data. More data what you have, you'll have better models.
Right. This is fascinating, and now I want to get into a less, let's say, less official, let's say, less serious talk. Let's talk something about your personal life and your hobbies. What does Apurva do when Apurva is not working on artificial intelligence and computer programming and everything?
So I like to travel actually. So so I tend to spend like some time traveling out, or like to go on a drive on a weekend, and like just chill out there and then come back.
Okay, is there any type of places that you'd like to visit, especially from a driving point of view?
So driving side, like I'm from Goa, so like I have accessible lot of access to beaches. So I tend to go like where there are in the hillsides. So I travel to Karnataka, where like I don't know whether you are aware of Uti or Kurg.
Yes, so I am from there, so I am aware.
Oh, I see. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Kerala, so I'm very aware of Uti, because as a child, that was a hill station that we used to go frequently.
Yeah.
But continue with your. So you traveled.
Yeah, so I feel like traveling to hillside than going towards the beaches, because I don't know, like I may be from Goa, and that's why for me it's like like I stay very close to a beach, so for me it's not a new thing. But like if you want to have some sort of peace, then you definitely go to a beach during a sunset and sit there and just relax. So that's a really peaceful thing.
Right. I mean, I guess we have talked about it a little. I love motorcycle riding. That's my thing. And I actually travel through the Ghats to Goa. I mean, that's my sort of a one-day ride that I have. I mean, I want to go down south and up north to Leh, Ladakh, etc. But that'll be in the future. So I'm also a hill, mountain sort of a guy. Less of a, beaches would mean that, I would need a book and, a beer or something. That's what, that's my thing. So tell me, I'm expecting you to be a voracious reader. What do you read when you're not studying?
Mostly like I'm sort of like I read papers, like if I have to read something. Else I watch movies, or like or like any documentaries or something like that. But mostly I would prefer Netflix or Amazon.
Any particular genre of let's say a TV show that you like watching?
Nothing as such, like so I think it's not. I mean, I do prefer watching all sorts of movies, or like any web series which are there. Nothing as such, but like I used to attend IFFI, like IFFI is an international film festival that happens in Goa every year. So before me moving to Mumbai, I used to attend that event every year.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's how like the interest in movies generated.
Okay, that's interesting. So film festival circuit movies are the ones that I think you more resonate with. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there something that you recently have watched that you would recommend to somebody who's listening or watching?
I was just other day I was just watching this Elephant Whisperer.
Yeah.
I was still completed, but like I think it just won the Nobel Prize.
Right.
So
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it, but Trinka, the person who the Trinka AI is named after, she also recommended the same movie, and I think, and she also lives in Goa. I mean, you seem to have a lot. I mean, maybe many people who live in Goa have shared such interest. So that's an interesting thing.
Yes.
So now that we are, I think 3 years after the pandemic, you've done a lot of work from office and work from home. Where do you stand now? What works for you better in terms of working on the products that you're working on?
Yeah, I think I think work from home is it works for me. But I would also say, like, preferably I would like to travel to office, like, which I still do it. So once in a quarter I visit to office and make myself aligned with the product, how it is heading ahead, and also basically to decide the roadmap of where we stand and like what next steps we should do. So I think like I do travel to office like once in every quarter.
Right. And that's where we meet and we have these wonderful conversations about all of these things. We discuss these crazy ideas on what kind of ways in which we could take our products, etc. Now, this is after all the Trinka podcast, and I know that you are involved in some of the most crucial decisions that are made, etc. So, from a listener or a viewer point of view, I mean, who has used Trinka, what is it that they should be looking forward to? What is it that they should be excited about from a Trinka product point of view in the future? That is.
So I think the engine itself, right, the grammar correction engine, what we have built, it's one of the it gives really good results,
right.
And it has beat most of our competitors in the academic domain. So I think we are really exploring. We are doing a lot of research in that area. So definitely in future, like maybe in couple of months, we will get really good results with respect to grammar correction in mind. And also we are working on rephrasing of text, which you add a sentence, it's sort of like paraphrasing, where you add a sentence and it just rephrases the sentence, retaining the meaning. So that's another module which we are primarily working on right now. So
sounds like exciting developments for the Trinka user who might be watching this episode. So this has been really fun. I would love to pick your brain on more concepts surrounding AI and language technology, but that'll have to be for another day. Before I leave you, however, would you like to share with some social media handle or some place where a curious listener can find more about you and your research and your work? Anything?
Yeah, sure. Like I think I'm heavily active on LinkedIn than any other social media. Like so, I'll definitely share my profile there.
Right. So for the listeners and viewers, if once Apurva shares it, I think I'll leave it in the description or maybe on the screen so that you can get in touch with Apurva directly. Otherwise, you can write or get in touch with the podcast as well. So that's always the thing. So Apurva, once again, thank you for taking time out to do this. It has been such a sort of a interesting conversation and I want to do more of it. I hope you had a similar experience.
Yeah, same here. Like, I mean, thanks for inviting me. Like, it was nice talking to you. Yeah, thank you.
All right. We'll see you in the next one. So I genuinely hope that you had as much fun as I had while having this interview with Apurva Nagvekar, the principal data scientist of Crimson AI. The Trinka podcast aims to cover all things related to academic publishing and language technology and AI, and conversations with experts like Apurva is one other way that we hope to broaden the understanding of what language technology could offer for the field of academic publishing. We publish on all major podcasting platforms, so if you're listening to us there, please rate us 5 stars. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification icon so that when we publish our next episode, you'll get a notification. And if you like the content, please share with your friends and colleagues. If you have any thoughts on the episode, you can leave a comment on the YouTube comment thread itself, or you can reach out to us via social media. Just search for Trinka AI. We are there on all major social media networking platforms: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And you can also find us, for our Chinese listeners and audience, on Weibo and WeChat. And you can also write to us by email just write to us at podcast@trinka.ai, and we would love to hear from you. And I guarantee that I'll try to respond to each and every one as fast as I can. So that brings us to the end of this episode of the Trinka podcast. Academic writing done right. And on behalf of the entire crew behind the Trinka podcast series, this is Dr. KK signing off. I'll see you in the next one.